Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation of my asset planner, which is the product I work on at TVH, one of our customers. I am Tom. I work here at JWorks as a competence leader, cloud native platforms, and I work as a technical lead for my asset planner. Now, before I start talking about the product, I want to start with like a little introduction to TVH. So who is TVH? It's a worldwide company which has its main seat located here in Waregem, West Vlaanderen. And they do a lot of stuff with equipment like giant scissor lifts and boom lifts and stuff like that. And they're divided into two business units. One's parts, and they do everything regarding parts of any kind of machine. So they buy, if there's like a new machine on the market, they buy it, they disassemble it, they take every part out of it, they look if they already have it. If not, and they will create their own, and they can offer way more cheaper versions of the parts that the original manufacturer sells. And then you have TVH equipment, which does actually handle actual equipment, so like this. They rent it, they repair them, stuff like that. And I work for the TVH equipment part. And like you can see, they have all kinds of different equipment like scissor lifts, forklifts, a crawling telescopic boom lift, telehandlers, and articulating boom lifts. They have all kinds of different names for those and all kinds of different forms and models. And what I want to talk about is actually the Q1 project, which is a project initiated by TVH just like 2 years ago or something, to push TVH to the next era of Industry 4.0, and they want to accelerate their business by using all kinds of new technologies like cloud computing, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, all the new kind of things. For example, they've been working on warehouse automation already. So here you can see like there's a forklift in one of their warehouse, multiple forklifts just going around on their own. It's all automated. Other stuff they're doing is implementing like these track units on all their machines. So in Belgium, for example, they've installed these track units on like 6,400 assets, and it tracks like if the machine is powered on, the battery, the working hours, all that stuff, where it is, and GPS coordinates. And then how I want to talk about my asset planner itself. So I want to start off with saying this is the team that makes it. I have a lot of fun working with this team. We're called the Horn Squad. This is probably also the most fun team I've ever worked with, the most fun project. So I'm really happy to be talking about it today. And it's where did it come from? So here we see a picture of Tomorrowland, and you see there's lots of TVH machines there building the main stage. So you have like all these boom lifts, and there's forklifts going around, and big cranes. And Tomorrowland had this problem of they have about 160 machines every year that they order. And building Tomorrowland takes like a month and then another month to take it down. And the guy who plans the machines for building Tomorrowland, he had to like call 300 times to TVH to handle all the planning for all these machines. There's another picture of this year. So the point, so they wanted to make an application where they could plan their assets, easily order them, have easily contact people who use the machines, and then of course manage all the rest and have some reporting at the end. So what happened was initially there was a design sprint. So TVH came to Ordina, and we first used Clockwork, which is our user experience and innovative business unit here. And they had a very intensive design sprint. It's like 1 week or two, where they used a lot of post-its. They gain a lot of knowledge from the business. They map it to into a service journey, stuff like that. Very interesting stuff. But that's a completely separate talk. And in the end, they started doing a lot of prototyping. And in the end, they came up with this. And this is how actually the first version of the application looked like, which we delivered in about 2 months of work, which was kind of crazy. But it was actually like it started in development in March last year, and then it was finished in May, the first version, and they actually already used it for Tomorrowland. We had a lot of good feedback on it. We're also on mobile and tablets, and this is how it looks like now. So it's very clean, it's very visual, it's very user friendly, and we have 2 different versions of the application. One is for the event sector, so for like Tomorrowland, Sport Palace, all kinds of different event companies. And we also now have an industrial version that works slightly different, where, for example, project leaders can request assets to the planner for their construction sites. So I'm going to quickly also show you, tell you a bit about how we develop this application, which is also quite interesting. So because there's a lot of innovation going on at TVH, and we have a lot of different squads, they decide to implement the Spotify model. So that means we have autonomous squads. So each squad can actually just decide how they implement stuff, what they use. If you have to build something and you sort of have to wait on another team for something, you don't wait. You just do things your own way and just keep going like you want to. So each team also has like a mission board. These are boards with like multiple missions on them, and the business approves them. And there's metrics linked to these missions, and how you accomplish these missions is all up to the team. So we have complete freedom how we do it, how we design the application, and so forth. And finally, there's also the guilds and chapters part, which was introduced. So there's coordination between all the teams, and there's knowledge transfers between chapters. Now, to accommodate this, they also put on a completely new building for all the IT department. This is a small part of it. So each team gets its own separate section. You get every team gets like walls where you can put up stuff. Most of the walls in the building are like whiteboards, so you can just draw almost everywhere. Each team gets their own monitor, giant monitor, to do whatever they want with it, and it's very, very fun to work there. So because we have all these autonomous squads implementing all their different types of technologies and software, we've decided to use an event-driven microservice architecture driven by Kafka. So we can easily hook into data from other teams if we need it, just by going to Kafka. And if we look at the whole, all the technologies we use, it's a lot of very new technologies, and it's all running in Google Cloud Platform. We have a lot of automation going on. Everything's Dockerized, containerized, and we use all kind of fun things like Angular, Spring Boot, Spring Cloud, Kafka, and all that stuff. We also do a lot of testing. Like we have coverage of like 90%, and we have integration testing, end-to-end testing, API testing, consumer contract drifting. So we do a lot of testing of our software as well. If you look at our CI/CD, it's also completely automated. Once the developer pushes some code, it gets pushed to Jenkins to go through a whole complete pipeline with all kinds of testing, code quality checks. Gets pushed to the Google Cloud Container Engine, and then we have Spinnaker, who has deployment pipelines to our different clusters and stuff like that. So it's completely automated. Scrum Agile is also very interesting. This is probably the best team I've ever worked with regarding Scrum and Agile. We use a lot of Post-its. I think we already burned like a whole forest using Post-its. And our sprint burn downs are just like amazing. It's just almost perfect. And yet at the end of the sprint, we always pick up a little bit of extra work, and it's going really great. We also have a very useful sprint review format. So at the end of our sprints, we actually invite different stakeholders all from the business users, people who actually, customers who use our application, we invite them and they get a scenario that they are guided through by one person and another person writes down all the feedback, and it's very useful and we get so much feedback from it. So enough of this chit chat, I'm just gonna show you the application now. So I'll start here. Is this visible enough to everyone? Put it a bit better. So this is how the planning looks like. So at the left here, you see all the machines that were ordered or that they have in their own fleet. You can click on this, and then you see all the details that you need. You can see where it is located at. This is data we get from the tracking units. You see these blocks, which is for if you have Tomorrowland, they use a lot of subcontractors to build their stages. So they want to know, they want to plan, okay, this subcontractor can use this machine at this stage, and then when that block starts, that request starts, they can pick it up in the machine park at Tomorrowland. And adding stuff is actually very easy. So if we have this plus button, we can add new assets we want to hire. Most of the time, they actually know the model. So, for example, GLD, I don't know what it is. It's a boom lift. And then they just say, I'll start, I want it from then to then. I want one. I want it to be signed out at the end of that date. I'll plan it. And it's added to the planning somewhere. Is there some sort of ordering to this? And then they just need to go to the shopping cart, and they order assets, and it's ordered. And then it will be delivered at that date. That's all they need to do, the order, and it's very easy. Then, because we also have these subcontractors that actually need to request these assets to use, we have this, they have a separate view for them. So they can add requests here to, like, I want this kind of machine there. It's the same flow. So they can request any kind of machine. Usually, most people who work at the Tomorrowland actually required to have a bike because it's so big. So there's a lot of requests for bikes coming in. And they can say, okay, we're gonna work from this day to this day. And we need about, let's say, 5. And we're gonna work at this stage. Now this is building B from Ordina. This is an example. So we create a request. And then you'll see that there's the planner can actually open this inbox here and actually gets a request here. And you can just click on it and it will try to show you the available assets. It will filter the whole planning. Let's see if we can get it better. For example, this one, then you can see, okay, these are available at that time. You just need to click it. And they're like, okay, plan. You can also disable all the filters here. Or show all the assets, stuff like that, modify the details, and you just plan it. Okay, boom, there. And it's planned, highlights it and stuff like that. So, and then you can actually see all the machines where they're located at. So this is real-time data from production. We just go back to the presentation. So we have a lot of stuff actually still coming up. We have a giant roadmap. One of the next things we're going to do is like an industrial rollout. So we have about 16 to 70 customers at the moment, and we have to go to about 5% preferably of the customers of TVH, so that's about 3,000 customers. And in the long run, we want to go for 20%, which is about 20,000 customers. So it's very exciting to be working on this project. So hope we'll get there. And that was it. Thank you.